Greetings, YouTube. As of April 28th, 2020, my company has never officially shut down. We have been working 4-day weeks for a while now, um, and working in a factory with a mask on is more than a little inconvenient. Um, but we're still working. So I never had to stay home full time during the COVID-19 pandemic. My wife is working from home. So her job is continuing, and some of her job is outside the house in the outdoors. But a lot of her job is sitting on the sofa with a computer, making calls and doing paperwork and answering emails and things like that. So she occasionally gets a little buggy and goes and takes a walk and then comes back. Um, and because we can't go places on the weekends, and I've been having 3-day weekends, I have been doing a lot more building. I think I've done like 6 or 7 weapon builds since this whole thing started. Um, but this has not been a great burden upon us. The idea that social distancing is a functioning mediation method is very clear to us. We understand this. Keeping a distance from the people around us so that we break the chain of infection, so that the disease has nowhere to go and can eventually burn itself out, or at least get to the point where the number of cases are so low that the rest of us can then return to our lives of a slightly more normal nature. Uh, Hopefully a better nature, I should point out. I don't want to go right back to what we had, because let's face it, what we had is what got us in this problem. Um, no, that's it's a doable process, and we understand that it exists for a reason, and it works. We know that it works. But there are Americans protesting right now. And it's one of those grassroots protests, the kind that, like the Tea Party, that was designed by the rich people, and they convinced a bunch of people that did not realize they were being convinced by rich people to go out and start a political party. Yeah, like that. Same thing with libertarianism, also thought of by rich people. Um, but yes, the grassroots protests are being backed by politicians who are being paid by corporations, because they want the economy back on track. And the corporations, they don't care how many people in society are killed. They don't care. They will gladly stand on your corpses if it means they get another dollar. But the people doing the protests, the Americans in the streets, are almost exclusively angry white people, and all of them are supporters of the shit gibbon. Because progressive folks are smart enough to know we need to continue with the mitigation process for as long as necessary. And if that means you have to stay home and you don't get to have your cheeseburger sliders at Red Robin, and you don't get to go to baseball games, and you can't go to the beach when you want, that's okay. Because that means that other people don't die. And also, you don't die. We've already seen a spike of cases from the protests. So bunches of people getting together, shoulder to shoulder, screaming and yelling, has caused the disease to be spread faster. What a shock. So the corporations want the economy opened up because they're afraid their stock portfolios will go down. They're afraid about their bottom line. And they're willing to put you in the ground to make sure that they don't lose any money. And the supporters of the shit gibbon are dumb enough to go along with it. But then again, they're also supporters of white nationalism, so I shouldn't really be surprised that they're ignorant enough to support a process that will kill them. But what's worse is that they're putting other people at risk, because there are other smarter people in their lives that didn't go to the protests, that stayed home, and they could be infected through no fault of their own, because their family members were foolish enough to follow the politicians being paid by the corporations. And it breaks my heart knowing that not just the protesters themselves, but other people will be infected. Other people will die. Now, I don't want to see the protesters hurt. I don't want to see anybody suffer. The protesters, though, took the risk willingly. All the other people they may infect, didn't. They've made bad choices, and right now some of them are paying the price, having caught the disease while at public protests. But other folks are going to catch it just because they're related to them through blood or marriage, through friendship. And that's heartbreaking. And it shows how foolish this whole process is. Your lives are being inconvenienced. You're not being oppressed. But angry white people seem to think they're being oppressed all the goddamn time. And they aren't. They're being inconvenienced. So stop trying to burn the world because you're being inconvenienced.